Hi, everyone. I'm Michael Uriarte, or Dr. Mike, and welcome to Technique Talk, the MYK System and More. This is episode 45 in our series, and today we're going to interview Ruthie Hardee about DeepFeet Bar Therapy. Today we're going to cover information from Ruthie's father and grandfather doing missionary work, how she made it to Hollywood, the hit TV shows and movies that she worked on, how she developed this technique, the struggles she endured to get it approved through NCBTMB, what to expect when you go get a treatment, and more. Deep Feet Bar Therapy. You're going to learn a lot about it right here. If you want more information about Ruthie or Deep Feet Bar Therapy, I have the website links in the description below. If you haven't subscribed, be sure and hit the subscribe button. I have a lot more interviews coming. Whether you're a patient looking to get help or a practitioner looking for a good technique to learn, this series is what you need. Let's dive in. All right, Ruthie, so tell me what actually got you into healthcare. I know that this may be a layered story here because we've got some information. So let's go through this. I'm interested.
I was at a trade show about 30 years ago, and I'll never forget Judy Calvert and Noah Calvert, the editors of Massage Magazine. They always had a slogan, "It's a wild, crazy trip how we get into the massage industry." Everybody's got a story, right?
That's right.
Yeah, mine's crazy. So you want me to basically tell you how I got into massage?
Well,
Not
let's start
necessarily.
back with because I think I read a story where you were younger in possibly another country
Yeah.
and
So
saw something. So what?
there's You bet. There's two pieces of this. How did I get to be a massage therapist, and how did I invent the deep foot or the deep feet effleurage massage? So they're kind of two stories. But yes, I was very blessed. I had parents. My father was a doctor, my mom was a nurse, and they were medical missionaries. And my mother was born and raised in the Congo. So my sister and I traveled a whole lot in the late 60s and the 70s. And I actually, on a trip to Manila in the early 70s, um, was the Menora Hotel, if I remember correctly, in Manila. And we had gone to an open market one day to get some fruits and vegetables, and we were sightseeing. And there was a woman holding on to a wooden dowel rod that somebody had put up for her in a cot tent marketplace, open like what you would see on a farmer's market kind of
Yeah,
thing,
yeah.
holding onto a bar. She had a baby on her back, and there was a gentleman laying on an army cot, and she was walking on him. And I'll never forget as a little girl just standing there looking at that and just being mesmerized by this person standing on another person. So that was my first aha ever. And then, of course, didn't think about it for years. And then the following year, I was with my parents and we were in Nepal, India at a temple. And I saw basically a version of that. I had strayed away from the group and was on the side of the temple. And there was a courtyard area. And there was somebody laying on the ground on a mat, like a straw mat. And there was lots of oil. And I could see the greased back and the glutes and the hamstrings of this Indian. And he was wrapped in a turban. And this gentleman was holding onto a rope that had been tied around a branch of a tree, with knots all the way down and holding and swirling this oil all over this guy's body. So my first reaction was, oh my gosh, I'm looking at something I shouldn't be looking at because I was a teenager. I didn't even know what massage was. And then the second thing is, this is wild. I don't know if I'm supposed to be looking at this. You know how a teenager mind works. I didn't think of it as a ritual or something that was sacred. I just thought I was in trouble, and I ran back to my parents and my group. So there's two things that happened in my life where I saw a person with their foot on another person. Okay. Never thought about it again for years and years and years until I was in Hollywood in the late 80s.
All right, before we get into Hollywood, so you said your dad was a doctor.
Yes.
And so you guys traveled. Was this missionary work or what?
Well, my father specialized in tropical medicine diseases. He graduated from Tulane. And in 1914, my grandfather, my mother's father, was also a doctor searching for any medical missionary doctors who specialized in tropical medicine that could come to Africa and help him. He was setting up the first dispensary in the Congo for leprosy, typhoid, black fever, diphtheria, all these diseases. And my dad said, "Hey, this is a way to get out of Florida. Let me answer the calling to this man." And they set up dispensaries in the Congo, which was amazing. And of course, he met my mom. My mom was like the only Caucasian woman in about a 9,000-mile radius. And they eventually got married.
Wow. So healthcare has actually been in your family. It's been generations. Yeah.
It was and is, and going out with them. When you think of the movie MASH and the MASH stations, with the Red Cross on the camping gear and the Jeeps and everything, that's kind of how I remember it when we did go out to different villages and mission stations to treat people. I mean, my father has some amazing triage stories of doing operations with no sanitary utensils, no water, no electricity, you know, hippo bites, crocodile bites, sutures, all that kind of stuff in the wild. It's pretty amazing to have the legacy to look back on.
So you got to travel the world from when did you start? Were you young?
We were young, yeah, yeah. We started in the 60s. I was born in 57. I'm almost 70. So I started traveling when I was about 7 and 8 years old with them.
And then did it all the way through like high school?
Uh, no, my parents finally moved back to Florida in the early 50s. They got a furlough. It was just my sister was already born and raised there, and it was just too hard of a lifestyle. So when I came along, they said, "We want to do part-time in the States, and then we will go back when we get a mission calling to go back," because it's called a furlough. Okay.
Okay.
And so the United Methodist Mission was the umbrella that they were under. And so they let them, move. And my mother was born and raised there. And so my mom and my dad said, "Well, what would be the best place where it's hot, humid?" And, Florida became a no-brainer because the environment was very close to what they were used to, especially my mom
I
growing up
gotcha.
in
I
Florida.
gotcha. So what
So
part of
we
Florida?
Tampa, born and
Oh,
born and
Tampa.
raised in
Okay.
Tampa, and my father had a practice there. And that's
Okay.
kind of where the Ashi evolution started as well.
Nice. All right. So you get out of high school, somehow you end up in Hollywood. How is that?
Yeah, again, crazy how life takes you on this strange trip and everywhere else. So, when I graduated from University of Missouri, I went to Colorado, which is where I live now at 9,500 feet. I'm amazed I can breathe. Um, and I came out here to work at Keystone Ski Resort for a little while, right after college. I was supposed to go to University of South Florida, and I just begged my father to please let me, go out and work in a ski resort and figure out what I wanted to do. And this is since 1975. And so I came out here and really fell in love with Summit County and Colorado. And during that time, I met a person who lived in California, Topanga Canyon, exactly. And we became good friends. And back then, there was no cell phones, no computers. You gave your phone number on the back of a book of matches to somebody. We didn't even have business cards back then. And he said, "Hey, if you ever want a house sit for me in California, I travel a lot." And I kept that number in my back pocket and always thought about that. And then one day out of the blue, the phone rang, and it was 80. I can't even remember the year. Let me look it up. Hold on. 1978. This gentleman called me and said, "I'm going to Europe. Would you come house sit my animals and water my plants?" And I said, "Yes." So I drove from Tampa, Florida, all the way out to Topanga, California, loaded up in my Subaru station wagon with everything I owned. and sat for him. And everybody kept talking about the industry on the other side of the hill. They were talking about San Fernando Valley and the movie industry. I thought they were talking about some sort of industry, like a rubber tire company
Right.
or
Yeah.
a fuel industry, because there was always smog. I was so naive back then, and little did I know it was the LA smog, right? And I just started doing what's called craft service, which is where you set up a table with all the food and the snacks for the actors and actresses on a movie set. And I got that job as a helper. And then it led to me doing my own. I worked with Dick Clark after school specials for about a year and a half.
Wow.
Nobody remembers Dick Clark, but and eventually it just led into all kinds of avenues. I worked on Twins with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito. I worked on Beverly Hills Cop with Eddie Murphy. So I
Wow.
got to do all these movies, right? And then I also waitress. Back then, we all had three jobs to make ends meet. And I had an opportunity to go to Columbia Pictures Television because I knew how to type from college. And they were looking for somebody to be a administrative secretary to the producer of a show called Married with Children
Oh my
with
God.
Ed O'Neill and Katie Segal. And it ran for almost 15 years.
That was a good one. That was a good show.
Yeah, so I landed a gig on that show in 1988. And
Wow.
that's how the whole massage thing came about. So here's the weird caveat on that. So I'm sitting on the show, day after day, year after year, and all of a sudden in I think it was 82, 1989, they had what was called a DGA, Directors Guild of America Writers Strike. So everybody in Hollywood who was a writer for a show, whether it was Who's the Boss, 21 Jump Street, All in the Family, anything, they all went on strike. And so Hollywood went dark. We call it going dark. And all of the secretaries, the runners, all of us who worked on the cast and crew had an opportunity from the state of California to either collect unemployment or go learn a new trade. And back then in 89, they offered five trades: truck driver, uh, massage school. There was like five different ones. And I wanted to keep my job on Married with Children. And this strike went on for almost a year and a half.
Oh
After
wow.
5 months, all of us in the office started saying to each other, we got to make an income and make a living. And we were guaranteed our jobs after the strike was over. And so I pitched massage school. And that's how I got into massage school because the state of California paid for it.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, Santa Monica School of Massage. And back then it wasn't anything like it is today. It was like 70 hours. In
Oh,
fact, yeah, it was only 70 to 100 hours.
oh
And the
wow.
AMTA was just being developed back then.
Okay.
And so anybody in California who was a massage therapist had to join the AMTA if you were going when you got out of massage school, if you wanted to work.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is before they set the standard of the 500 hours or the 750,
Oh,
whatever the different
way
numbers.
before. In
Yeah.
fact, when I moved back, so I lived in California till 1992, and I moved back to Tampa because of a family member getting cancer, and it was just time to leave LA and move back to Tampa to my roots. And when I got to Florida, they wouldn't accept my hours from medical school of massage. I needed like 28 plus hours to even be considered. I had to go to massage school all over again when I got to
Oh,
Florida.
jeez.
They kept like 40 of my 60 hours. And FSMTA was just getting going then too. So 92 was a huge year for anybody in Florida to be a massage therapist.
So
It
how
was like,
many hours was the massage school in Florida? Was it more?
oh, Suncoast School of Massage. I think back then, let's see, I graduated in 93 and it was a 500-hour course.
Oh, wow. So so you did have to start over. Yeah.
I did. I
With
did. I went a whole year to massage school, and 100 hours of that was Oriental modalities.
okay.
But it was done by a book.
Oh,
And nobody, and let me tell you, even when we were looking through Oriental modalities, it was shiatsu, qigong, it had nothing to do with, it was energy work. It was all energy work.
okay.
And I kept reading in the book and started getting expired. And I said to myself, when are we going to learn about the foot thing? When somebody actually does a foot massage. And they tapped in a little bit, just a tiny little bit on Barefoot Shiatsu by Shizuku Yamamoto. But
Okay.
again, it was pressing through clothing. It was just pressing and rolling, pressing and rolling. There
Like
was no
compression, just a compression.
right, and absolutely not unclothed, and no oil and cream was involved.
Okay.
That
Okay.
was the only thing going on in the 80s with foot massage
Wow.
nationwide.
Yeah.
Now, other parts of the country, I'm sure, but not in the US.
Okay. Okay. Wow.
And remember, there was no computer. I couldn't just Google barefoot massage.
That's
Nobody had cell phones.
that's right. This was
I had to
back
go to the
the
library,
library. That's it. The
try
Dewey
to find
Decimal
books.
System. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, thank God for Massage Magazine and Judy Calvert and Noah Calvert, because they would find these really cool articles to publish, and they would seek different, what are now called CE providers. Back then they were authors. And they would seek out stories and put it in Massage Magazine.
Oh, nice.
And
Nice.
so I kept reading on these Oriental modalities, and it got me intrigued that somewhere out there was a course that taught you how to put your hand above your head and hold on to something and swirl around in oil and cream, but no such luck.
So now before this, when you moved to Florida, did you stay in Florida after that, or did you go
I
back
did.
to? Okay, so when you were out in Hollywood, there was a time, I think I remember reading, while you were out there was one of the first times that somebody was hurting or something, and you ended up having you were in a truck or something.
It was a called a grip truck. So I was going, so massage school was done, writer's strike got over, we're all back on set, we're all working. I'm working on Married with Children, and I kind of got a reputation for, ooh, Ruthie went to massage school during the strike. And I would come over and rub Ed O'Neill's shoulders and David Faustino's shoulders. But it was just little quick minute, 5 minute, 10 minute little things on set, what you had time for. But then on the weekends, I was dating this gentleman who was a lighting director, and the truck that you have when you do television and film and you light for the set is called a grip truck, and you grip. I was dating this grip, and I had nothing better to do. And I went out with him, went on his shoots, and I had a portable massage table. And I remember that table, it was a living earth craft, my very first massage table. Opened it up, and I used to do dollar a minute massages by hand on the side of the right, right there in the pavement, parking lot, dirt next to the truck, whatever. And people would just come over when they had time. There's lots of standing around when you work on a movie set. Lots of
Right.
standing around. Yeah. So that's how I started getting into dollar a minute massages. And one day I was so exhausted from working on these big, huge stunt guys with my little hands and my little thumbs and my elbows and forearms trying to do, because they were all, you can go harder, you can go harder.
Right.
Every massage therapist's nightmare. You can go harder, you can go deeper, right?
Right.
And they kept saying it over and over again. And that particular day, my boyfriend had moved my massage table into the truck. Now, mind you, if you could see the inside of a grip truck, it's about the size of an elevator. There's no room on any sides, but there's all kinds of stuff. There's wires and plastic drawers that you pull open full of clips and wires and hardware and this and that. And I guess he used to put his what do you call it? The scaffolding for the lighting, the PCP piping, and just all of that stuff above in like a little grid on top of the truck. And that's where he stored a bunch of stuff. So I'm sitting there with about as much width as there is from the table to this bunch of stuff. And I looked up and I saw this metal grid above me, and I was like, oh my God, if I could just stand up on this table and put my fingers through those grids and hold on, I could push on him with my feet because I'm about to black out. It hurt so much. I mean, serious nerve damage going down my arms that day because I had done, these guys over and over. Every therapist out there knows what I'm talking about right now. That shooting pain going your elbow from your PC joint pushing and your circular friction on your thumbs around.
Yes, yeah.
And that's the day the aha moment and the lightning struck. I don't even think I wiped my feet. They didn't have baby wipes back then or artificial anything. I think I just had a towel laying there, obviously on my massage table, and I wiped my feet and with the towel and just kind of crawled up. And this gentleman didn't even know I did this because I was very quiet because I thought I was going to get in trouble from somebody
Oh,
saying,
yeah.
who's standing up on a massage table pushing their foot on somebody. And he was already had cream and oil on him. And he was already draped because I was working on his calves and his hamstring, bit the knee, taking my forearm, pushing up the back of, the hamstring. And my face was about this far from, his lower lumbar area. We'll just say that. And so that's another reason this was lovely. I had all this space between me and his sacrum. It was wonderful. And anyway, I don't remember quite what I did, but it was lots of swirling and effleuraging and trying to get that oil and cream absorbed in his skin. And then I tracked it up over his glutes, tracked it into his lumbar and his spine, and kept moving it down his arms. And really, what I was trying to do was just spread all that oil and cream so I wouldn't slip and fall. The thought of compression and myofascial and triggering and rolling and rocking and learning how to put my foot in different positions like we do now to address specific points, that wasn't even in my head that day. My thought was, I got to spread this cream and oil and get him to absorb it so I don't slip and fall.
Yeah, yeah.
That became the beginning of DeepFeet Bar Therapy. It really did.
So that happened there, and then I'm sure you stayed there for a little bit. You stayed,
Yes, I didn't leave California until 92 and I got there in 87.
and so did you do some more massages with your feet while you were out there, or was that kind of the one, and then you
It
and then
was well, what it was that day, that guy went back and told all his buddies. And so the next day on the movie set, I had a lot of people. I had sticky notes and pieces of paper all taped all over the place. Hey, can you do me at 2? Hey, I'm having a break at 3:30. I would love for you to do my neck. And so it got very popular within the people that worked on that particular movie. And quite honestly, we left and came back to town, and I went back to work because I had a Monday through Friday job, and there's nowhere that anybody could really rig up anything to hold on to. So getting up with the feet was really hard. And I tried it on the floor. I used to take the cushions off of the couch and put them on the floor and throw somebody down and hold on to the back of a chair, but that effleurage and that moving, just it was unstable and it felt unsafe to do that. And it just kind of faded away, and I just went back to hand massage. But no, my focus was working as a secretary on Married with Children until 1992. I did massage for fun on the side.
so did you stay with the show Married with Children until it ended?
No, I left in
Okay.
92. The show went on for about 7 more years. I
Oh,
had a
okay.
family,
Okay.
yeah, I had a family emergency back in Tampa, and I needed to go address that.
Your early 90s, you came back into Florida, then you had to go back to massage school. And so that had to be now a 500-hour program. That's another year or
I'd
two.
have to go back and check my diploma. A part of me says it was a 300-hour program with
It it
with
may
an
have been.
extra 100 hours in Oriental modalities of some kind.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's what it was.
Okay. And so, but that's another year at least, right? Isn't that a
Oh,
year?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That was a year. And the whole time I'm sitting in massage school And all these famous continuing education providers are coming into my classroom. I'm learning Aaron Maddie's. I'm learning sports massage with him. John Barnes is coming as a CE provider to teach myofascial release. James Wolskowski is teaching his sports massage. I mean, all these CE providers that I know now, we're just basically weekend teachers at my massage school. And so it's cool learning how to do that with my hands that later, little did I know, 10 years later, I'm going to train my feet to do what I learned from all these different amazing educators, how to do all these very specific things with my feet because
Right.
my inner part of my foot, the medial side of my foot and my tarsals became my fingers. The
Okay.
lateral edge of my foot became my elbow and my forearm.
Okay. Okay. All right. So you get through school and then at some point you how do you get in back into the feet?
Well, I did start a practice in South Tampa, a small practice when I graduated from massage school, waiting for my Florida license because you're
Okay.
not allowed to do massage until you get your license. My Florida license finally came, and so now I could open up my practice, and I was in South Tampa, and it was a really good practice too because I was kind of known on the streets for deep tissue. And I rigged up two small dowel rods in my ceiling on bicycle hooks. And back then they were just hanging in the bicycle hooks, strapped together with bungee cords, not smooth and not technical like we have today and calibrated and everything else. And I started doing just random people, and I did a couple of the Buccaneers, which really boost my
Oh,
clientele. But I
yeah.
was right next to Tampa General Hospital. And so I got a lot of staff from Tampa General. I had, different doctors. I had oncologists. I had, dermatologists. I had eye doctors, chiropractors. So I was so blessed and so lucky that I had so many doctors coming. And they heard there was this little, kind of talk on the street that this girl does this massage with her feet. But back then, in 94, I was scared that I was going to get in trouble from the FSMTA standing on a table using my feet, and nobody was teaching this. Nobody had heard of it. So I was getting popular at the same time, but I was worried that credentialing was going to get me in trouble and I didn't want to lose my license. So I hit the library, and computers were just coming into play then. And I remember reading an article in Massage Magazine, or was it Massage and Bodywork? I can't remember, about Shivuti Theriamal. And that is kind of like what I saw in India 30 years
Okay.
ago with the guy holding on to the rope on the tree,
Okay.
a very primitive version of Shivuti. And I said, oh my God, where can I take this course? No place in the United States was teaching anything. You had to go to India if you wanted to learn it. And I said, well, this is Florida. Anybody in the massage industry has got to be teaching a class somewhere using the feet, called Tallahassee. Um, I forget who owned Biofreeze back then. Oh, George Casalis. I remember Core Work, and George Casalis back in the day told me about Shizuku Yamamoto. She might be coming to the States to teach a course. So I was all excited. And I signed up for that course, and I got there. And please forgive me when I say this, Shishuku, but I was very disappointed. I was there for 3 days and paid a lot of money, and all it was compression with the foot over the sheet. In fact, is a part of shiatsu where it is sacred not to touch the skin.
Oh.
So I thought I was going to go learn effleurage with cream and oil and lubricant and myofascial release and how to stretch the muscles and this and that. But it was just sitting in a chair, learning how to rock and roll and do basically, a little tapotement with the feet and some jostling. And we did dig, like you would dorsiflex your foot and put your heel into different points, but it was always through clothing, sitting in a chair. And then on the last day, for about 5 minutes, she brought in a walker, and each of us held on to the walker over the body because you could, back then, you used the walkers that had the four little stoppers that you could just put anywhere you wanted. And so we could hold on to a walker. and do some footwork, which was better than the chair. At least I was standing up and my back was straight.
So the person is at this point, they're laying on a mat on the
They are
floor?
laying on the floor on a beach towel.
They're laying
Some
on the
people,
floor. And so
oh,
you
they're
were
on a
just in
floor.
a regular chair?
And then if you were lucky to have the adaptable headrest and cushion, body cushion hadn't been invented back then. But there were some people who had like a sternum pillow from pregnancy and a face rest. So a couple of people that were rich enough had those, and they laid those down on top of the beach towel. And then, of course, everybody had a pillow under the knees. But that was about as much cushioning and comfort as you got during that class.
So
Super
the
fun.
person they would be on their stomach, but they could also be on their back.
Oh, yes, it was supine and prone. Yeah,
Okay, so you
we
could get
learned
it
it
either
was
way.
a
Okay, okay.
3-day course. Yeah, all kinds of different things. And it was wonderful. I mean, the compression and rolling the arms, both supine and prone when they were on the ground, felt great. It was a little hard on the joints when you get around the shoulder and the knees and the wrists, and people weren't focused on comfort back then.
Right. Right.
Mindset was heal.
Yeah.
And then we brought another level of luxury to it when we finally got, real sophisticated in the night in the late 90s.
So with this class, you're in a chair, just a regular chair or a stool or
No, just a regular sitting chair, just a
just a
straight
regular
back
chair. So you're
folding
sitting and the
chair.
person's
Yep.
right below you and you're just using your feet and
Yeah. And you're kind of holding onto your chair, rolling back and
and
forth with your
having to
foot.
move the chair to move up the body
Oh,
up and down the body.
absolutely. You had to move the chair to move up. You had to change positions when you wanted to dorsiflex and give them heel pressure and then go back to rolling.
Oh, it was
Yeah.
involved.
Pardon?
That's a lot of work involved in that. Having to, you know what I mean? From the therapist standpoint, having to move up the,
Right? But
yeah.
Yamamoto was amazing. I mean, some of the techniques she wrote in her Barefoot Shiatsu book, nobody had ever seen anything like it. She really is the beginning of the person that I think personally brought a foot on a body to the United States.
And so that was your first class. Was that your only class? And then you developed
That
other
was the
stuff?
only class I ever took that had to do with the feet on the body. Oh no, I'm sorry. John Harris. And gosh, I can see the book clearly I did take another class in Santa Barbara, and I can't remember right now what it was called. Ed Harris, was it John Harris? Uh, Gosh, I can't remember,
Yeah,
but I
Ed
did.
Harris is the actor.
No, this gentleman's name was Ed
Oh, it
Harris,
was
John
okay.
Harris, and Ed somebody, and they wrote a book, and they had a school in Santa Barbara, and I'm embarrassed right now that I don't know the name of it.
No, 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 don't worry. Don't worry. So two classes. So you had
But
two
it
classes.
didn't. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. And so then you're in Tampa, you're working with some of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and elite people as far as doctors and different people in the community. Um and then what took you from the compression, and then going, okay, I can use this side of my foot. I can use this side of my foot. I can get the oils and the creams and do the effleurage or the strokes
Well,
or the.
actually, that basically came about that day in the grip truck. I'm like, holy mackerel! I'm doing effleurage with my foot. And then, anyway, in my practice in Florida, because I was working with these medical people, they wanted specific work. They wanted neck work. They wanted, bicep, lumbar at L5 and L4. They were very specific. I had a doctor who was a burn doctor. He treated skin disorders and all of this stuff. And he loved the deep work on the ashi because his neck was crouched in front of a computer doing research all day. And so, I mean, for me to get my foot, I mean, I'm only a size 6.5, but for me to get my foot up near the neck, I was a little, scared and worried. But because I had such great training in massage school and all these other CE providers, I just instinctively started teaching myself to do that work, but I hadn't written anything down. It was all in my head. So after about 2 years of this practice in South Tampa and word getting out, I started getting phone calls from massage therapists. Hey, I hear that you work on Mike Smith over in South Tampa. I want to know where you learned it. Well, I didn't learn anywhere. I just kind of trained myself. Well, can you teach me? And I'm like, I guess I could, but I don't, it's all in my head. I don't have anything written. So I got enough of those phone calls in 1994 and 95 that it was like, okay, it's not being taught anywhere. I can't find it anywhere. I can't find any information on it. I'm going to have to write my own little book on this if other people want to teach it. And that's when I first submitted a a I don't even know what you call it, to get to become a CE provider application to the
To
NCMTB.
NCB, yep.
NCMTB was only 2 years old at the time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah. And they didn't want to have anything to do with a foot and oil and cream on a body. I mean, they envisioned this. And then when I brought the element of holding your hand, oh, my hands are above my head, holding on to something for balance and safety. And at that point, they just couldn't accept the fact that a massage therapist was going to be up on her massage table walking around. And so, big step, reject.
Oh, wow. So
Oh, yeah.
you went through the ringer then to get
I
this
need more
approved.
case study. I need more documents. I need more endorsements. I need this. I need that. So every 3 months, every 5 months, I was trying to resubmit and it still got rejected. After about a year, they finally accepted it. And that was only because I had, typewritten, handwritten endorsements from doctors in the medical business. I'm sure they would have never approved it if I hadn't had that.
Wow. Now, see, that's something that
Yeah.
people, I'm sure, people don't understand what you had to go through just to get it
Back
approved.
then, you had to,
Yeah.
because the NCMTB was new, young, and fresh, and they weren't about to let you go out and start teaching anybody anything that wasn't endorsed or,
Especially
approved or
outside of,
recommended.
yeah, yeah, outside of
Yeah.
what the regular massage is. Yeah.
Correct. So if it and it hadn't have been for that, I had an orthopedic surgeon say it was okay. I had a chiropractor say it was okay. I mean, I was even studying what it was. I was putting together my own case studies for me at 125 pounds, standing on a cocktail waitress and a dancer at a gentleman's club who I knew and they both knew and told me they had implants. And I'm talking huge implants. So, but they're dying for me to go as hard as I can between the scapula in the thoracic trunk area. And they wanted long, continuous myofascial stretching from the lumbar all the way to the atlas. And I know when my foot's going between the scapula, the medial border of the scapula, I've got to be pressing down on those implants with 120 something pounds. I mean, I'm pulling down on the bars, angling my body. So I had to get some serious endorsements from a couple of doctors saying, she learns to regulate. When she gets near the breast tissue area, she takes the weight off, she pulls her weight up into the bar. And then as soon as she clears the breast tissue and she's, above the clavicle, then she will go back into and resume her compression. I mean, it was uh, very scrutinized back then. So that's the only reason Ashi got, or I shouldn't say Ashi, because when I say the word Ashiatsu, that's not deep feet bar therapy. Ashi means foot and Atsu means pressure. So when you put the two words together, Ashiatsu, it means foot pressure in Sanskrit, in Indian Sanskrit.
And
Deep
that's just static.
that's just static,
That's normally,
correct.
that's
That's
just
not
static.
really movement, but that's not true because if you look at history pictures of Shivuti, now that we have the internet, you can bring up Shivuti Thirumal, and it's all based on the oil. In fact, that particular massage ritual, if you will, was based on the oil and not the compression. It was what was in the oil that was so medicinal. It was a ceremonial treatment.
But now, what's the name of that one again?
Shivuti Thirumal. And I
But
can stand it.
Shavudi is the Indian version, and Ashiatsu is the
Ashiatsu is the word, just like you say
oh,
bread.
okay.
Yeah. Shibudi Theriuma was the technique. Ashiatsu means foot pressure.
I gotcha. Okay. So you're more along the lines of the Shavudi.
No, not really. It's a
Not really.
combination of everything. It really is this potpourri
Okay.
of what I saw in India, what I learned in Florida in massage school, the fact that I put cream and oil. I mean, my whole intent was everybody wants effleurage. They don't want trigger point work. They don't want energy work. They want deep tissue Swedish. And they never want you to stop and they want you to keep going with the same amount of pressure. On a scale from 1 to 10, they want eights and nines for an
Right.
hour. This is
Right.
impossible to do with your
True.
hands. And if
True.
all you do is your elbow, I mean, that becomes bony. Oh no, that's too hard. Go back to your forearm. Well, now I am standing at a massage table with my lumbar bent in a position for an hour and a half that hurts me to put that much pressure forward with my forearm. And all my brain is saying is stand up straight and you can use your strength of your quads. If your feet are nice and soft,
Yeah. Yeah.
nobody will know, you
That's
know.
right. So from your first class, because I know from my first class that I first taught to today, the technique is, way different from,
Oh,
when it
it
first started.
evolves. Isn't it crazy? It
Yeah.
evolves with every client.
And that's it. And so then and not just the clients, but sometimes somebody comes in the class and says, I can't really do that, but look, I can do it this way. And you go, oh, wow, that's easier than what I'm doing. That I like that. And then you start incorporating it. And so what I like to joke around and say, for somebody would come in class and say, I can't do it that way, but I can do it this way. And so I'd be like, Judy in this class showed me how to do this move. And then a year would go by and be like, there was a chick in the class, I forgot her name, and then it became, hey, look what I came up with, So,
Right, right.
but it
You
does, it
have
just
to,
evolves.
what I learned after teaching for 25 years was you have to learn to adapt to the different people in your classroom, especially if they have mechanical disabilities. Okay. I mean, fused thumbs or spines or whatever they are giving the massage. But at the end of the day, the massage is still supposed to feel the same. I would be mortified if, and it happened, when somebody goes and pays her a DeepFeet Bar Therapy session, and then I got wind that it was rough, it was fast, it was jerky, felt
Oh.
like somebody was doing karate chop on him, like a Russian deep tissue Russian massage, through a towel, because that wasn't what I intended for it to be. So I know the instructors then that I had and the instructors today, and the bottom line at the end of the day of our classroom is do no harm, teach no harm, and it has to feel luxurious. It's not supposed to hurt. You're not supposed to leave from a deep feet session and be bruised and
And
be
so that
sore.
was and I think I don't think I'm the only one with this misconception. When I first heard of this, my first thought was, oh my gosh, this is going to be some deep, deep work, and but it's not. It doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be. That's the key right there. The client is always in control. We always have a live communication. We don't just put on music and don't talk to them for an hour. That's how trouble happens. That's
Right.
how injury happens. So we're very present. You always can control the pressure. Once you know the client over and over and he comes back week after week, or she, you know their nuances, you know where their injuries were, and you know what they like, you know what pressure they like it at. But for somebody to just go in over and over the same way is actually an insult to the modality. And that was the hardest thing in my 25 years was controlling the outcome. Once we got big and we were on the cover of magazines and I was a guest speaker at trade shows, we were attracting every massage therapist in the United States because they were hurting too, just like me, leaning over, doing repetitive hand movements with their hands over and over 8 hours a day, and
Right.
especially the spa people. the Canyon Ranch, Golden Door, all of the big spas where people were working 7 and 8 hour shifts, they were hurting and they wanted us to get this into the spa business because
Yeah.
that's the number one requested massage, deep tissue effleurage
Yes. Yes.
tissue.
Yes. I can remember I was in Kansas City at the time and I had a medical doctor contact me because I had five massage therapists in my office. And he said, I'm wanting to bring massage into my office and I'm thinking that I can book the therapist easily 35 hours a week and
Oh my goodness.
I'm going to pay him $10 an hour.
Ouch.
I go, why would anybody come in and work for you? And
I
he had
so
no
remember
idea.
those days.
He had no idea. Yeah.
Michael, you and I are around the same era. We
Yeah.
remember those days.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah.
It was crazy what people thought. So, all right. So when you first started teaching, I'm sure there was probably one class, right? There was just your class, the deep feet. There, or did you start
Correct.
with
There was just
multiple?
one level. I think we
One
had
thing.
12 pages in the manual. It was called Barefoot Basics. And I had like six people in the class. And that's all we taught. And I maybe taught three classes a year because the logistics of setting up in a room with all these people with tables and coming up with three apparatuses in the ceiling. Because back in the day, you had to get a living room, you had to get a dining room, you had people had to come to me. There was no going on location and teaching this
Right.
anywhere
You couldn't
before the
go to
invention.
an embassy suites and say, I'm going to set up in the
No way. Right. And that's interesting because this was a whole nother chapter of my life was the invention of the Hardee Atsu portable bars. But yeah, people would I would have to put three sets of wooden dowel rods in the ceiling on bicycle hooks and people brought their massage tables and we had a stool they sit on. So I was limited to only six people per class because three people would be on the table and three people would sit on the chair. And that was it. And then on the last day, it was a 3 day course. On the last day, we would have, you know, athletes, people that half of my clients quit paying me because I could get them to come to the workshops for free and give their feedback to my students. But I would have all walks of life, big, small, medial and chunky with a lot of muscle. And then I'd have thin. And we even brought women in because you had to learn to work on women. You couldn't just go gangbusters and
Right.
work on a guy. You
Right.
had to learn the nuances and all of the idiosyncrasies of working on a female and her body type as well. So I was very limited. I was probably turning 40 to 70 students away a year because I had no way of teaching them if they didn't want to get on a plane and come to Tampa. And so I had one instructor at the time, and her name was Jeanette Giannotti, and she came up with an idea. I had pipe cleaners. I had watched a person do a photo shoot of me one time, and I watched him raise the aluminum telescopic uh, apparatuses that you put the cameras and the lighting and everything on and open them up. And I said, God, if I could just take those and create some sort of overhead thing where I can travel with them in a bag and open them up and fit a massage table in the middle where it wouldn't rock and fall over, I would really have something. And she came up with a design, and we did have these pipe cleaners, so to speak, telescopic aluminum that weren't strong at all. We used to get sandbags, kitty litter, whatever we could find, and we would weight them on the back of the bar that it held onto. And at least we could take this with us. And we did workshops on that one set of portable bars. But then we had to make six people rotate through one set of bars.
Wow. But
And
at
so
least you
the
could travel now.
you could travel now. We could get outside of Florida. People didn't have to get a plane to come to us. It was a long workshop because you had to
Ah,
sit and wait your turn, take notes, watch. Then it was your turn to lay down. Then it was your turn to stand up. So think of round robin with six people on one set of bars.
right.
And then one year in Anatriptyl, California, John Fanuzzi, Golden Ratio Tables back then, he saw me at a trade show And that changed everything. We designed and went to work with wood. And so golden ratio was instrumental in DeepFeet Bar Therapy growing.
And so did they come up with the current design that you
We
have?
all sought to get, whoa, it's so evolved. Now, what you're seeing today on the website is Touch America, and my CEO, Nancy DeLong, has reinvented that. Not to mention, one of our instructors, Al Polaris, has invented a traveling portable bar. So the portable bars, like the modality, have completely evolved into the next millennial. I
That's
mean,
cool.
I still have a set of the original portable bars
Oh, wow.
and they would squeak and squawk and probably very rickety. But no, they're nothing like they were today. But it enabled us to go into spas. It enabled us to hold, 8 and 9 people in a classroom, and nobody had to sit and wait their turn. It really revolutionized teaching. The modality was the same. It just revolutionized how many people we could
How many
teach
people you could teach? Yeah,
and where we could go with it. Yeah.
right. So how long? Because for me, I had my basic class, and I believe it was around 15 years later before I came up with an advanced class. So
Hmm.
that was me. So how long did it take for you to add?
Well, not long at all,
Okay, good,
because
good.
Mama Bear was already using 2 feet on her big, huge clients on those Tampa Bay Buccaneers that I knew loved my 2 feet on them. So when we started the Barefoot Basics class, it was one-footed strokes only, supine and prone, and you always have one foot on the table. And then they were like, this person wants more pressure. I'm dying to stand up with them on 2 feet. Everybody in class wanted to just pull themselves right up on the bars and to put 2 feet right on the glutes and just start walking. And that's when injury happens. You're walking on spinous processes, your heels are on the kidneys. You don't need to be putting straight foot pressure on the obliques, and the list goes on and on of contraindications. So I knew then these people are already monkeying around in Barefoot Basics and trying to do all this stuff with no training. They're just doing, what feels right to them because they probably were the kind of kids who got on the floor and walked on their dad's back while they were watching TV when they were little. We
Yeah.
get that all the time in class. I've been walking on my boyfriend's back, holding on to the back of a, chair. So we did develop Defeat 2 pretty quickly, probably within, I would say, 8 months of teaching Barefoot Basics. We developed another 3D course called Defeat 2,
Nice.
Advanced Ashiatsu. Um, and back then, sadly, I had to discriminate who could take the course. I wasn't equipped to change the modality to fit every body type out there. I mean, I was petite growing up in the 80s and the 90s doing massage, and I developed this for me,
Right.
5'3", 120 pounds. And we were attracting men who were 6 foot, 190. We were attracting people who were over 195 pounds. Oh my gosh. And I would hear about it from the guest clients that this was not good. Can you put me with the little chick next time I take the class? Because it wasn't comfortable, but they loved us. They loved the modality. They loved what we were doing. They wanted to help teach other massage therapists how to save their hands. So they grinned and bear it with the feedback. But I knew a lot of them would have liked to say, you killed me. If I was a paying client, I would never come back to see you. And that, again, was the biggest, hardest thing all these years until this day. Keep the modality soft, luxurious, medicinal, and not hurtful and harmful. And then once everybody said, oh, it's okay to hold on to a bar and be standing on a client, people were doing their own thing without any training. And people were giving us, I know you, I don't care whether you use your feet or your hands. The CE provider who developed the course is going to hear back from the negative comments that this thing hurts, it's harmful, you're going to hurt somebody. How dare you teach this? So it was with that Defeat 2 class, it was pretty scary the first couple of years because I was getting a lot of feedback that was negative. Well, she's not letting me take the course because I'm 200 pounds. And it
Gosh,
was
and
more
that's just another
so.
evolution of because you had to build to get to that next thing.
Well, we were so popular, Michael, and we were getting asked to be, covers of magazines, and we were getting so popular in the spas that I just couldn't let this run amok and let anybody and everybody take a hold of it, or it will turn into a circus.
Right, right,
And but I also wanted for every therapist to have the opportunity to learn this. So back in the day, we would keep those heavyset people who we knew weren't going to be able to deliver this luxurious, soft, flowing, liquid, dream. We reserved them for barefoot basics only. Because if you have one foot on the table, you can always control your pressure.
oh,
So
I
we would
gotcha.
not
I
let
gotcha.
them get up with
Okay.
2 feet on the body. And there are some restrictions still today in the advanced classes. I mean, you have to prove to yourself and your instructor that you can pull 60, 50% of your weight up to those bars if you had to.
Right, right.
And
Okay,
that's another
okay.
reason why putting your bars up is so specific. You can't just slap something up in the ceiling. It has to be able to really be weight bearing and hold yourself up. And our portable bars, they do that, which is very
Now
nice.
the portable bars are those into the ceiling or are those
No,
off the
no,
ground?
portable means portable.
Yeah, they're off the
Portable is
ground.
the A-frame. When you go to deepfeet.com, you'll see two kinds of portable bars, the original wood bars that I created. And you put them together, they fit in a ski bag or a lawn duffel bag. You have, hardware that goes together with an Allen wrench or a T-handle, and
Okay.
they connect, right there between the table. And now what we have is traveling lightweight portable bars that
Nice.
just were actually invented in the last 2 years. And those are really something. Those are what you see on the DeepFeet website when you open up the
Oh,
website.
that's good. That's good. So now,
But
all right,
those,
go
yeah.
ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say those are basically um, my envision of when Jeanette and I had the old
Wait, no,
telescopic
yeah,
medical. Now they're like that, but very refined and very sophisticated.
right. Nice, nice. So I saw some videos. Some of the people, it looked like there was incorporated into the treatment. There was like stretching even. Like the person could be on their back and raise a leg or two, and then you could push into their leg and stretch them and different things like that. So it's not just
Yeah.
always just laying on the table. There's
It's not
stretching.
always just effleurage, and that was very important too because I love John Barnes, and I took the myofascial courses 1, 2, and 3 back in the 80s, and so I incorporated those long, deep stretching, almost like positional release. The difference is you're not holding one area, but now we do that as long as it's safe and you're not on a joint or a bony process. We do lots of bolstering now. And it really is about making the therapist work smarter, not harder. We incorporate silk scarves now. And so we use them as apparatuses, like you've seen the yoga straps and the yoga scarves hanging from the ceiling now. They even do yoga with it. Oh, we have a lot more than just holding onto the bar and using the foot. There's all
Okay.
different kinds of courses now. But yeah, that myofascial stretching where we do originally came from John Barnes back when I created the curriculum, and now it changed even more.
So the person that comes in, okay, person comes in to receive this work. If you're explaining it to someone who's never had it before, do they have to get undressed, or people can stay clothed if they want
Oh,
to?
people
If
can
they
stay clothed. I used to do sports massage on the side of the parking lot with the
okay,
Ashi bars. And they would
okay,
stay in running shorts and their dirty, smelly socks. And they loved the compression. But what we were doing is flushing out all the toxins after the race.
gotcha.
And even before the race, we would do very vigorous, fast massage to
Okay,
get them ready for the race. So yes, this can be adapted to all kinds of conditions. But
so
yeah,
you could come in and just lay down and relax and get oils and creams and that kind of massage, but you could also come in, like you said, and stay clothed and almost get a sports massage out of it. Yeah.
oh, absolutely. It's very
Okay.
point specific. Yep.
Nice.
And that's why we have so many different levels of class Barefoot Basics is where you learn fundamentals. You learn contraindications. You learn where this comes from. You learn the application. You have to go over muscles again. A lot of people have been out of massage school for 15 years and they don't realize where the medial lateral side is to anything anymore. And we're always working from outside medial in, just like
Okay.
Tom Myers taught us with that kind of work. It's outward moving in, always moving in. Not a lot of lateral out, but outside to in. Um, I just can't. And of course, with them flipping over and being supine and not prone, I mean, prone gives you this huge canvas to work with. We all know that. Got a
Right.
lot more
Yeah.
muscles. You can go
Yeah.
crazy. But when you flip the body anterior, gravity takes over. A lot of your fascia settles and you have bony prominences and you have landmarks that you can't be just going nuts on. So it becomes a little bit different of the application with a lot more focus on tension. And that's why a lot of the straps and a lot of the scarves have now come into play because while they're holding a position, um, you can compress and move the fascia even easier while they're doing resistance, relax, resistance, relax.
So years ago, you started off teaching just in Tampa. Then you were
Mhm.
able to start moving around, but you would travel to different locations. I was on the website. It looks like there's a lot of different locations. I was
Oh,
looking at the class schedule, the course schedule, and it's like it almost looked like it was every day. I mean, there was just so many classes available.
we have a lot of instructors, and what happened with this too, I would say really exploded in the last 15 years. They come and take the course. It changes their practice and their lives. And they are probably getting the same phone calls that I got way back in the day. Hey, where can I learn this? Can I do what you're doing? Because they hear in town, oh, you should go to Ruthie. She does this and this. My therapist doesn't do that. And everybody wants this, deep tissue work. And it's not just deep tissue, it's the fact that the therapist can do 6 of these a day standing straight up and not be so fatigued at the end of the day. So it's very popular in that sense as well. You can do a 30-minute Ashi treatment and it feels like a 2-hour massage because we can cover more area, more broad
To
surface
the
strokes.
A 2 hour massage to the person, not to you. Because that's
Correct.
the key factor, I think. What I always say is I got tired of going home physically tired. And I'm like, there's
Yeah.
got to be a better way. We shouldn't have to wear ourselves out to help other people, right? And so
I literally used to soak my hands in ice water. And today, at my age, I've had the CMC carpal metacarpal rebuilt twice. My PC joint at my thumb is fused, and it was from all those hours of circular friction um, back in the day before I learned to stand up and hold on to a bar. But yeah, I actually have problems with my right hand from years and years of circular friction.
wow, wow.
Yeah.
Um, well, that was interesting. I personally learned a lot. I love the history. I love the history of, what you had to go through, especially going through like getting the course approved with
Oh my gosh.
NCBTMB and
Many,
that
many doors were
process.
slammed in my face. And
Right.
you know how you watch American Idol and they say, live your dream, think of it, breathe it, eat it every day. You can do it, you can do it. You know how they tell everybody now because everybody's an influencer and overnight sensation on Instagram and TikTok. Well, back then, again, no social media, no computers, but that resonated. If you really want to do it, you can do it, but boy, was it hard. It
You
was
got
not easy.
you can't
If
give
I
up.
had just if I had just had a computer and somebody where I could gather text and information, but there wasn't any. I had to write it myself.
Right,
And that's the
right.
hardest part is coming up with the knowledge when I never took a course in being an educator.
Well, this was you may be able to relate to this. When I was first putting my information together, I would have to take a picture on a camera, and then I'd have to go get the film developed, and then I would have to get it onto the piece of paper and then take a picture of it, a photocopy of it, and then I would get white out to get the lines off of it
Yep.
and stuff. I mean, pain, and now people just go in a computer, go, yep, that boop 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 boop, there you go. But way
Oh, I
back,
wish I had my original application to the
that's
NCMTB.
right.
I would love to see it because you described what I did.
That's it.
You had to
I'm
go
telling you.
find a Kinko's. You had to have your 3x5 photos on the piece of paper to lay
Yes.
down on the copy machine. Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
There was no insertion of a JPEG. There wasn't even a JPEG.
Exactly.
You knew what that
Exactly.
word was.
That's funny. Yes. All right. That was awesome. That was awesome. I learned so much. I'm sure that there's going to be people that are interested in this and they can just go to deepfeet.com
Yes,
and
don't be overwhelmed when you go to the website. Look at the pictures, envision yourself up on those bars. And I know it looks like a lot. Start with Barefoot Basics, and I guarantee you it will change your life because even though we're in 2025 and I started this in 1993, 94, massage therapists still hurt the same.
that's
Everything's the
exactly right.
same. Muscles are the same. Leaning over a client's the same. It's just an amazing technique that will keep you longevity. Um, I would still be doing massage. I could. If it wasn't for the injuries on my hand, I can't even play piano anymore. And I've been playing piano since I was 7, until I get maybe some surgery to open up this arthritis and repair it. But if I was a massage therapist today, I know I could easily do 3 and 4 at 70 and not be tired if I could hold on to a bar. But until
That's
I get my hand fixed, I don't think I can. But yes, go to the website. Don't be overwhelmed. All of our instructors will talk to you. You can even call me. I'll tell you anything that you want to know and stay in the business that you love.
that's right. That's right. Ruthie, thank you so much. I'm glad you did this with me.
And Michael, I loved hearing your stories of becoming a CE provider. You know firsthand from the embryo stage what it was like
Oh,
to
yeah.
get your stuff recognized and get it out there and teach it. So I honor that and I really respect that a lot from you.
If you made it this far, smile.